Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine, and this is another exclusive interview. Today, a fan favorite, Migael Pretorius. We've had a chat about him coming on the show for quite some time now. In the live chat, you guys have all asked for him. So I thought I'm going to give it a shot. It's very difficult because he's all the way in the CPL currently. So it was a bit difficult to come up with a time that suits him because had a hectic schedule. And it's not that easy to be the third highest wicket taker in the competition. So it's something that is quite difficult to get hold of, someone very difficult to get hold of. But thank you so much for giving your time to us, Michael. Today, we're going to be doing our cover story, and this is all about T20 cricket. Domestic T20 cricket competitions around the world, as well as local domestic cricket. And I thought that you would be the perfect person to feature for this particular magazine. So, first and foremost, I just want to know how you got into the T20 game. Was it something that happened directly just in school first, and then from there it just took you forward and you learned more when you went into the domestic cricket?
Yes, I started at school when we played there. I think we played that T20 school competition. Did quite well with that in Stellenbosch, and I think that's where I actually can remember we actually played. We started playing it more.
So at school level, do they prep you for that? Like teach you different skills for the shorter format and the longer format, or did it just come naturally to you guys as cricketers?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I think we had good coaches that understood the game. Not just normal teachers that trying to teach and just coach a bit, but we had a proper coach that's what he did. Johan Miller, and he planned everything well, and he made us quite aware of what he wanted and how he thinks the game should develop forward in T20 cricket especially. So I was lucky in that way.
So, what sort of tips do you get at a young age as a kid? Because generally speaking, when you're younger, you just want to go out there and just have some fun and play. But what sort of tips and techniques did you learn? Maybe from a mental perspective as well.
Yeah, from when I was young, I can't really remember much. What I took from the game then. When I was at school, I wasn't always. It wasn't really. I wasn't really thinking of playing cricket after school that much. So, I think what I learned then, I didn't really take in that much. But I think coaches now these days, I think the younger kids, I think they learn a lot more than I used to when I played at school. So I think the kids now probably learn a bit more. There's a lot more around the game, a lot more that you can learn and take from it. So I think I can't really remember what I learned that back then, but yeah.
Cool. So your next journey, take me on your next journey, and when you next play T20 cricket, and from the coaches around you at that particular time, what you learned from them. Sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's maybe technique. We know that you play all three formats of the game, but right now, becoming a superstar in T20 cricket. So where the journey started, because we know you now at the Knights, and I want to hear what you learned from someone like Alan Donald, for example.
Yes, I've I obviously play all three formats. I enjoy it. I think the T20 stuff I got a while ago when Mark Charlton he almost him and Chris Corrosa they gave me my chance to play first class cricket and backed me on that stage as well. So I think Charlie probably or Mark Charlton was the one that really forced me in a way of thinking and the way of learning the game and certain things. And with AD in Bloom, he's played the game, he's played all the formats. I mean, you can only learn from him. He's a very steady coach and has a good way of thinking, and it's nice to sometimes get it from a player that's played on the highest level. And the way you should think and the way you should learn, because I think it's very important to have the right mindset and knowing what you want to do and how you want to train and go about things. So I think it's cricketers these days. A lot of them, they don't really have a plan going to nets. They just almost know that they want to bat and bowl, and that's the way of going forward. And I think that's one good thing that Alan actually really, these really streamlined practices for us, and let's hopefully this season everything falls in place and take it on.
So local T20 tournaments, of course. We used to have the Ram Slam, it used to be called, but then obviously the CSA T20 Challenge, and then you also have something like the Mzansi Super League. Can you talk to me about those levels and how that's prepared you for your next journey? I mean, obviously going to the CPL must have been a massive achievement for you. But before we get onto the CPL journey, I just want to know how the domestic system and players around you in the dressing room, your coaches, etc., in South Africa have helped prepare you for the big stage?
Local T20 cricket, not much, to be honest. I haven't played much in SA, and I think I was lucky to play T10s and stuff and learn from players there. And guys like Farhan Bardin, I was so lucky playing with him and Sean van Berg, and those guys that's played a bit of cricket. So I was lucky to be able to ask them, what do you think here? What do you think about plans and stuff? And as I say, in local T20 cricket, I haven't done much. I didn't play Mzansi, wasn't selected for both years, so I couldn't really give any feedback on that. But the Ram Slam also I didn't play, so I missed all of that. I think I got what I've learned, what I've done. I've almost just from asking and tried it in the nets and trial and error. Actually, that's where I got where I am now.
So getting picked up for the CPL must have been an amazing shock for you. When you heard that you're going to get that call, etc. How did that make you feel at first, and then what went through your mind to prep for this particular tournament?
Yeah, well, I think anyone can be happy. I felt ready for it. Felt ready to come here and play. Obviously, I didn't know the conditions, but luckily, I've also I've had people that played here, so it was a bit of a struggle at first to see the small ground and stuff and the wickets and stuff, but it was good. I was happy to get the call. So as soon as I heard that, I started prepping for what we're gonna get here. But yeah, well, it was a fun tournament. I'm happy to be here, and hopefully I can come again.
Mm-hmm. Now you look around the dressing room and there's some superstars there and guys that you're playing against. Can you talk to me about some of the lessons that you've learned in your trip to the CPL?
Yeah, well, playing with him, it's nice, but when you're on the field, it's another player you learn from, and you almost get past that playing with a superstar thing. That's what nice. Everyone is down to earth. When it comes to competition, there's no buddy from teams. Most of the times you play to win. And after the game, it was just nice chatting with everyone and get to learn so much. The way they think is a bit different in the Caribbean. They go hard. They don't care to go out. So that's a good thing. And learning from them why they think that way and stuff was memorable for me. So when I've learned so much, I write down a lot of things, and I'll go through them again once I get back in SA and try to give back a bit what I could take from them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, two disciplines, of course, with the bat, with the ball. Becoming an all-rounder in T20 cricket is quite a sought after position, particularly in South Africa. We've been looking a lot for all-rounders. I mean, when we mentioned all-rounders for that finisher role in the Proteas setup, a lot of guys on this channel were calling out for your name. How do you feel about it when you hear that sort of praise, when people are calling for you to be in the Proteas setup? And can you talk to me a little bit about how you've worked on your batting and what you've learned about the approach to your batting? Because as an all-rounder, you obviously bat towards the end, and in the chase, you obviously have to come in when there's wickets down, a lot of pressure on you, and you have to chase down the runs, or in the reverse, when you need to get that extra 10 or extra 15 quick runs to take yourselves to the next level and just to put your target out of sight or your total out of sight. So can you give me the mentality behind that, techniques you learned, some stuff that you picked up from the guys around you when it comes to the batting side of things?
Yeah, like I've concentrated a lot on my batting the last year and a half. I think earlier in my career I didn't really take it that serious, and it cost me a bit. It made me, I think stats-wise, it made me look a bit worse than I think I am. But the guys here, I struggle on these wickets. It's very slow and stuff. So coming here, you can only prepare so much. SA wickets is actually so nice and true. But these guys finishing, as I say, they go very hard. They want to put pressure on the bowler throughout the over. They want to put pressure throughout the game. There's no checking on what's happening or what's the ball doing. But finishing wise, I mean, speaking to guys like Carlos and Russell, is just the way they back themselves completely. And if they fail, they fail. Look, we had a very good batting lineup. It didn't come through as much as everyone would have hoped, but just the way they approach it and where they're looking to hit and stuff. I mean, I've got, as I say, I've learned so much that I'm going to try and give back to everyone here. They don't look for singles here at all. That's not options, which is good. But to come back to your thing about the Proteas stuff, I mean, I'm glad to see that the people are recognizing me and are backing me. I mean, I really appreciate that a lot. It's out of my control, out of my hands. I don't think about it. It's nothing I can do, but enjoy it. So there's a few cricket coming. I can just go and do my best there again.
Mm-hmm. So on these slower wickets, bowling, because you have a lot of pace behind you, but we know that in T20 cricket, there's other variations and things that you need to add to your game to become successful in this game. We've seen how the likes of KG and the likes of Andrich Nokia and so many other bowlers have changed their bowling when it comes to T20 cricket, just to be an asset to the team as well. Are there any extra things that you had to learn quickly to prepare as a fast bowler for the T20 game in the CPL?
Well, I had to start learning to bowl my slow ball a lot slower, especially when it's so. I mean, if you bowl it too quick, it almost just comes on easy. We didn't have a lot of time to train here, so practice-wise, it was a bit frustrating. So I think going into next year, I will prepare a bit better for what I want to do. But definitely going wide and giving yourself with field options to give yourself 3 balls to bowl at, stuff like that. That I haven't really practiced that much, but it's something that I've worked on. Especially, I've tried to work on the other times we've had, and it's definitely something I'm going to take back to SA and start working like that and planning around that. But yeah, that's a big thing that I've learned here, and having a few different ball options to the same field. So something I took care of.
We know that you like to learn from senior players, of course. You've told me this before. You like to learn from the senior players around you. But from your perspective, if a youngster had to come up to you right now, I know you're not necessarily senior quite yet. You're still learning as well. But if a youngster had to come to you up right now and ask you for advice on how to prepare their T20 game or improve on their T20 game, particularly an all-rounder, what sort of advice would you give them from a technical perspective as well as a mental perspective?
Look, mentally, you need to have a safe option bowling wise. You always need to have a ball that you can back to get 1 or 2, and not go for a boundary. And I think that's one thing that guys don't really practice enough. I think, myself, I'm also a bit guilty with that. Is having one ball that you can back yourself 100% to either get a dot or 1, and you'll get right 5 out of 6 times. If you can plan, kids can plan for youngster and start learning to practice stuff like that, then you can start planning overs. I don't think guys plan their overs well enough, and it's something that I'm also working on and trying to improve in my game a lot more. It's just planning overs during the game, not just stand there and wait till your turn comes. Trying to figure out how the way the game is going. How can you actually help? Try and think as a captain almost. I mean, it's making a big change in my game, trying to think as a captain and trying to understand what he's trying to do. So it makes my bowling then easier when I come up and stuff. And then with the batting, it depends on the situation where you're at. One thing that I've learned from Fudgy or Farhan is the fact that it's almost try and lose the game in the last 3 balls. Don't have to hit 6 sixes, and it's sometimes if the run rate goes up, guys want to just go guns blazing, and it's not always necessary. You almost try and stretch it out till the end, and that's something that I'm also working on and trying to do that a bit better.
This is a difficult question. You're going to have to maybe think about it, but just pick one moment from the CPL that really stood out to you so far.
Well, I probably got smashed a bit, but it's the over against Pollard, that last over I bowled to Pollard. it's probably the biggest learning curve I had there, and it's because I was at a moment where I feel shit, my back's against the wall now, and it's so the plan that my ball that I have, that I want to get one or two of it, it's not working because it's so small. So I think that was probably the biggest moment where I just needed to relax and step back a bit. I didn't do that, and I obviously went for a bit of runs that I went, and it's something that I definitely take from it is, if you're in that situation, you almost want to be in that situation, and I was in that, and I didn't necessarily do what I wanted to do, but I think that was probably the biggest learning for me, bowling wise, in the whole CPL, that I won't forget. I'll take a lot from that.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Migael, for giving me your time. It was very insightful, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.
Cool, man. Thank you. Cheers.